I tell you, the media think they got Trump, right, with this Joe Kent character. How many of you, this Joe Kent jerk that quit Trump today, works for Tulsi Gabbard, how many of you heard of him before 3 hours ago, right? Now all of the media are trying to make the big thing about this guy. So we're going to go through everything that happened with this Joe Kent character with Trump. And Tulsi Gabbard, Laura Loomer and others are talking about maybe Tulsi Gabbard's going to be next. One thing you got to understand about Tulsi Gabbard, she's a Democrat. Oh, I know she left the Democrat Party. She's a Democrat, right? And a lot of these Democrats during the campaign serve their purpose, but who cares if Tulsi Gabbard leaves? But this Joe Kent character, well, let me play you what President Trump said about it today. This is the president today in the Oval Office. He's asked about Kent by the media.
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that presidents should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if, I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash, hundreds of millions of dollars? You would have been very happy. This was a wonderful, they said hundreds of millions. People forget that. Does anybody remember? Right? You remember. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a Boeing 757. I think they had two of them loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there wasn't a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran.
Yeah, they could have caused a run on the banks, which caused the Great Depression. They sent so much cash, Obama, to Iran.
Almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. And nobody ever did anything about it. Nobody ever said anything about it. Can you imagine if I did that? So they've been a threat for a long time. But they've really been a threat. If I didn't terminate Obama's horrible deal that he made, the Iran nuclear deal, you would have had a nuclear war 4 years ago. You would have had nuclear holocaust. And you would have had it again if we didn't bomb the site. So when somebody is working with us that says they didn't think Iran was a threat, we don't want those people, because, and there are some people, I guess I would say that, but they're not smart people or they're not savvy people. Iran was a tremendous threat. And virtually every NATO nation, and this is the thing, if they told me it wasn't a threat, and therefore they don't want to help, but when they say it was a threat, and it was a major threat, every one of them, I think every one of them, I don't know of one that said they're not a threat, but when they say it was a threat, but we're not going to help.
Okay, so this Joe Kent character, he's, oh, Iran's not, this stinks from head to toe and left and right and the horizontal and the vertical. This Joe Kent, everything about this guy stinks. And I'm going to go through this with you and tell you what's really going on. My name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. All right. So this guy, I had heard of him, but I really didn't pay much attention to him. And I know most people had not heard of him. And quite frankly, if you would have asked me yesterday who he was, I would have had to think and maybe not even have come up with it until I did some looking. But I remember this guy and who he is. This Kent character is CIA. He is a CIA guy. And if you look at what's happened since this Joe Kent gave this letter of resignation, the media, when President Trump had his press conference in the White House today, in the Oval Office, they're trying to make this into the biggest scandal since the last fake scandal they tried to make. Everything that the deep state have done against President Trump, everything, from the moment he came down the escalator, has always been the same thing, trying to turn his supporters against him. And the only thing they've done is make President Trump's supporters a larger group, and were, of course, behind him more than ever before. So let's go through this. What's going on? Well, let's go to the great Laura Loomer first, who, of course, Laura Loomer is always right. Always right. Whenever Laura Loomer posts something on X or any other social media or is on some interview and says something, you can take it to the bank. All right? Another thing about Laura Loomer, she's also inside Trump's most inner circle, contrary to what people may think. She's on the inside of the inside of the inside of the Trump inner circle. And she posted a couple things to X about Joe Kent. But let me go through this one first. This is very detailed and very interesting. And I did retweet this if you follow me on X at Brian Craig Show, okay? Laura Loomer said this, breaking. Now listen to this closely. And when Laura Loomer says something, not only is she always right, but you know she's putting things out there that the president wants us all to know about. So she posted this on X earlier today, Laura Loomer. Breaking. Notorious leaker Joe Kent just resigned from his role as director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Kent reports to Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, he reports directly to Tulsi Gabbard, or he did, he quit. But notice what she said. Notorious leaker. Notorious leaker. See, President Trump's team is a very tight team. Okay? And not only is it a tight team that President Trump has, when there are leaks, you wonder what? Who's the leaker? Well, we know who one of the big leakers, and it's this guy, Joe Kent. So back to Laura Loomer. Notorious leaker Joe Kent just resigned from his role as director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Kent reports to Tulsi Gabbard. Then Laura Loomer says, I have been warning you all about Joe Kent for a long time now. Yeah. And that's why I'm familiar with him, because I've seen some of the tweets that Loomer has put out about him since this has been going on. But there's a lot more, too. Loomer says, I've been warning you all about Joe Kent for a long time now. Then Laura Loomer says this, which is a pretty bold statement. I predict Tulsi Gabbard will resign next, Loomer says. Then she goes on. Loomer says this. As I said in my post yesterday, Kent is another Tucker Carlson acolyte, a follower, who undermines President Trump every chance he gets. She's talking about Joe Kent here, his wife works for Trump hater and rabid Jew hater Max Blumenthal, who is married to a radical Muslim woman. Uh-oh. So, now there's a lot more, and we're going to go through it all. So this Joe Kent guy gives this resignation letter because he doesn't think that Iran is a threat. We find out that his wife is working for this guy who's married to a Muslim. Oh, yeah. It's all starting to come together now, isn't it? Then she goes on, Loomer, you'll recall several months ago, Kent suggested I, meaning Laura Loomer, was a Mossad spy. This guy Kent. See, what the media are trying to do right now with Joe Kent is put him on this pedestal as this credible person who's left the Trump administration because of some moral superiority that he has involving the war with Iran that's gotten pretty hot right now, and Iran has all but collapsed. Listen to this. This is all in one big, long post on X from Loomer today. He, Kent, was caught leaking President Trump's private meeting with Mark Levin to Tucker Carlson a couple months ago. So what kind of Trump loyalist is he? He was caught leaking President Trump's private meeting with Mark Levin to Tucker Carlson a couple months ago. And he was told by White House advisors that if he got caught leaking again, he would be fired. Kent even admitted leaking to Tucker Carlson. This is all from Loomer. You'll notice, this is still the Loomer tweet, you'll notice that Kent is resigning the same day it was announced that Dan Caldwell would be joining the Office of D&I after he was fired by Hegseth for leaking. It's also important to note that this is happening one day before Tulsi Gabbard is set to testify to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence tomorrow and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence on Thursday. Both of the hearings will now focus on Kent's resignation letter, as Kent blamed Israel for the war in Iran and accused the Trump administration of being controlled by the Israel lobby. This is a big thing. This, of course, is one of these neo-Nazi talking points, according to Laura Loomer. All right, and her post, Laura Loomer, goes on and on and on. You can read the whole thing. It's very long and detailed, and, of course, breaks a lot of these things down. So what's going on with this Joe Kent? Well, he's obviously very tight with Tucker Carlson, according to Loomer herself. But there's a lot more going on here, okay? And when I found out that he was a... hold on one second. I'm sending a text to my wife. Okay. This is a CIA op. This guy, Kent, has been working for the CIA in the past for a long, long time, and he's obviously been recalled by the CIA so they can get some scandal going against President Trump involving Iran. Now, when you look at everything when you watch the press with Trump, if you watch the press conference live, when he went to questions, the press were having insane meltdowns over this guy. They were screaming at Trump about him, and then they asked the question, and he gave the answer that I played at the beginning of the podcast here. So this is another example of them doing what they always do, try to create the illusion of scandal around Trump where none exist. All right? When you're looking at President Trump with this war in Iran, on top of the great things that are happening in Cuba, President Trump not only is doing an incredible international reset on everything, it started with the Maduro raid, but President Trump also is turning their world upside down. This combat operation against Iran has lost the war every which way that you could lose a war. He's done it with very low loss of life. any loss of American life is tragic in these things. We've lost about a dozen, maybe a few more personnel, and that's including the tanker air collision last week that Iran didn't take down. But even including that, we've lost about a dozen, maybe a few more in the since the operation has begun. And all of Iran has collapsed on a dime. Right now, as we speak, Cuba is about to collapse as well. I'm going to cover all this and a whole bunch more. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
There are stories the media talks about, and then there are stories they never fully explain. Jeffrey Epstein is one of those stories. You know the name, you know the headlines, but do you really know how it all worked? From cybersecurity expert and author Cody Churchwell comes a serious, fact-driven investigation at how Epstein built his operation, who enabled it, and how the system failed the victims. And he's released the results of that research in his book, TEI, The Epstein Investigation, available on Amazon. TEI doesn't deal in rumors, it deals in documented facts, court filings, financial records, and the real timeline behind one of the biggest scandals of our time. How did it happen? Who looked the other way? And how did power and influence protect one man for so long? Find out when you read TEI, The Epstein Investigation. If you're someone who believes the truth matters more than narratives, this is your next must-read book. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and free with Kindle Unlimited. The real story isn't what you saw in the news. It's in TEI, The Epstein Investigation, from author Cody Churchwell. On Amazon, share the link to the book on all your social media so your friends can read it too. TEI, from author Cody Churchwell, on Amazon.
I'm in the Jupiter Joe radio studio sitting down with Joe Thomas. You know, Joe, a lot of seniors, they're getting their Social Security. They're retired, but not really. They're working a part-time job, maybe even a little bit more than a part-time job. But there are some instances where people think they have to work an extra side job, but they don't have to, right?
Yes, a lot of people don't understand that you need to put all your money to work for you. That means the savings account, the checking account, the emergency fund. Take that money, turn it into an income stream, and that's what we do for clients. We'll take a lump sum of money, say $100,000, and you'll get another $700 or $800 a month, where maybe you don't have to work that part-time job anymore.
Call Joe Thomas and schedule your no-charge consultation. And when you do, you get a free copy of his book, The Retirement Know-It-All. The number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999, and online, JupiterJoe.com.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. All right, so the way they do these things, it's almost comical. They take some guy, Joe Kent, we've never heard of, and no one's ever really heard of this guy. I've seen him once or twice mentioned, a third-rate player. They try to get some scandal going with Trump. They're asking Trump. Then, MAGA Mike Johnson has a congressional press conference today.
A threat that Iran was very close to the enrichment of nuclear capability, and they were building missiles at a pace that no one in the region could keep up with. They were far outpacing our allies and friends and us in our defense capability, because we had personnel, installations, members of the armed services, and civilians in the region. Iran was building up ballistic missiles at such a rapid pace, and we knew that their plan was to fire them upon Americans. The commander-in-chief and his administration had a very difficult decision to make. I don't know where Joe Kent is getting his information, but he wasn't in those briefings, clearly, because the Secretary of State, the Secretary of War, and everyone, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, they had exquisite intelligence, and we understood that this was a serious moment for us. Had the president waited, I am personally convinced that we would have mass casualties of Americans, service members and others, and our installations would have been dramatically damaged. And so the president felt that he had to strike first to prevent those mass casualties. That's a summary. I can't tell you the classified part, but that's the summary that's made public, and it's accurate.
Okay, now see how we've got this whole scandal going? Now, I'm going to give you a theory that you may think is right on the money, or you may think is crazy. But this Joe Kent resignation today something stinks about this, and I'm going to tell you what I think is a strong possibility, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this. We have several connections between him and Tucker. The Laura Loomer tweet, he's an acolyte of Tucker. There's an interview that I have here, a clip of, that's circulating around of him on Tucker. Over the weekend, and I talked about this on the weekend podcast, over the weekend, Tucker Carlson said he was under a CIA investigation, which is a very unusual thing. The CIA is not even legally allowed to operate inside the United States, and they're not a criminal organization. You know, when they have a crime, they turn that over to the FBI. But Tucker said that he was under CIA investigation. And then this happens today, and we find out that this guy that is in tight with Tucker Carlson is a CIA guy who's leaving. Here he is on Tucker's show.
One last question, because he called it 60 years ago. You referred to what a war with Iran would do to the United States, and I don't know that a lot of people in this country fully understand what Iran is as a nation state. It's not Afghanistan. What do you think the immediate and then longer term effects of a war with Iran would be on the United States?
Immediately, it would be very bloody. I have no doubt that we could probably defeat some of their air defense and go in there and have another shock and awe campaign. But again, like we saw how the shock and awe campaign in Iraq really didn't actually work in the long run.
Yeah, see, this guy's analysis sucks. He's totally wrong. You know, we went into Iran and it's been none of that. It's been bloody on their end, not on ours. So I'm thinking that there's a connection, a CIA connection, between Joe Kent, who's a CIA guy. You know, once you're CIA, you're always CIA. That's the kind of thing you're never out of, right? So Joe Kent is CIA. Tucker Carlson's under CIA investigation. There's something going on here with all of that. There's something, and you know what? We're never officially going to know because this involves all these deep state people. There's a connection between Joe Kent and his resignation and the CIA investigation that Tucker talked about on his show the other day. There's some connection. Okay? There's some connection. What the connection is, we're never going to know. But then I started thinking, if you remember when Tucker went to Russia? Now, I'm going to throw this out to you, and you can let me know if you agree with me or not. Remember when Tucker went to Russia to interview Putin? It was one of the weakest interviews you could possibly do. I've never seen Tucker do such a useless interview. It's supposed to be a big scoop, one he tried to get for years, and it was mediocre, wasn't it? It wasn't even eventful at all. Nothing. All this talk that Tucker, people say, oh, you know, Tucker's working for Iran. Tucker's working for Qatar. Is it possible that he's working for Putin? What do you guys think about that? Is it possible that he's working for Russia? You know, Tucker, when he was talking about this CIA investigation with a criminal referral to the Justice Department the other day, he says, I don't have secrets to sell. No. But what Russia does, if you think about it now, the main thing that Russia does, you know, Russia was behind, they were the Soviet Union then, but the Russians, the Soviet Union, they were behind the Vietnam War era protest. They were the main organizers of the entire Vietnam anti-war movement. Now, when the Russians are organizing these things, yeah, real regular people will organize their own too and join the. But Russia was behind all of that. And what Tucker offers Russia is, you know, Russia has it's this tactic that they always use is to cause division and spread misinformation. Remember all those Russian Facebook groups with fake political groups on both sides? What the Russians do is form movements and get political dissent going in our country, putting people at each other's throats. So while Tucker Carlson doesn't have secrets to sell, what Tucker Carlson does have is the ability to get dialogues going in the country and cause division. And since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the influencers led by Tucker, there's others, but led by Tucker, have been doing nothing but dissent and caused major dissent in the MAGA movement. So my question to you is, do you think it's more, if Tucker's working for someone, which we don't know for sure, but a lot of people, he's even talked about it, do you think it's more likely that he's working for Qatar or some other Muslim country, or Russia and Putin? And looking at what happened with this Joe Kent character today and his connections to Tucker, that he's CIA, Tucker's under the CIA investigation, I'm starting to lean towards Russia, because I'm thinking about and looking at what Tucker Carlson's doing and how he's changed and what he's been doing with his show in these past months or a year, however long. And it, to me, seems more like the signature of Russian tactics, not Muslim tactics. And this guy, there is most definitely a big connection to this. And this is being widely reported. Jackie Heinrich, one of the White House correspondents, she just married a congressman. Senior administration official says Joe Kent was a known leaker and was cut out of POTUS intelligence briefings months ago. He has not been part of any Iran planning discussions or briefings at all. Official says also the White House told DNI Gabbard Kent should be fired for suspected leaks, but she never did. So who's he been leaking to and why? Not the CIA, because the director of the CIA, Radcliffe, he's an insider. He's at the CIA. Trump trusts him. So the CIA is getting their information whenever they feel like it, because Radcliffe's there. Something's up here. There is most in my mind, looking at everything that's going on right now today and what's been going on the past few days, Tucker's connected to this. When Tucker Carlson came out over the weekend and said he was under CIA investigation, that was so unusual and weird, and you put this together with it, there's something in play. All right, so that's what's going on with that, and I'll continue to cover that, and this Joe Kent story, as it develops, I'll get to more of it. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to move on to some other things, but you're welcome to call in if you'd like. The number's pinned in the live chat if you're watching live. This is, of course, the Brian Craig Show. My name is Brian Craig. Make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening on. The number is 888-465-2631. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Dr. Philip Appleton. You've been hearing my commercials about bye-bye pain, my laser weight treatment, but today's commercial and today's spot is going to be on Tom Laporta, Laporta Roofing. What an experience I've had with him and his company. They've done a few of my friends' houses and my son and my house, and there's never a downtime. They're old school, which means you call them up, they'll be there. How many times have you called somebody up and they never show up, or they give you an excuse, weather, traffic, whatever? Tom Laporta, what a class act. The workmanship, the magnificent teamwork they have. I recommend them 100%.
Thanks, Dr. Appleton. Now do what Dr. Appleton did. Pick up your phone and call Tom Laporta from Laporta Roofing on your cell phone. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com.
What would you do if telling the truth cost you everything? Jesse Rawson was a successful HR manager at the Hustler Casino. His career was on track until he uncovered secrets that put him at a crossroads. Stay silent and protect his future, or speak up and risk losing it all. He chose the truth in his powerful and must-read book, Fighting the Workplace Mob. Available on Amazon, author Jesse Rawson shares his personal story of courage, faith, and standing up against corruption in the workplace. After losing his career, he found something even greater: purpose, strength, and a deeper relationship with God. Fighting the Workplace Mob is an inspiring true story revealing what happens when you refuse to participate in what the Bible calls the worthless deeds of darkness and instead choose integrity no matter the cost. If you've ever faced unfair treatment at work, if you've ever been afraid to speak up, or if you're searching for strength during difficult times, Fighting the Workplace Mob is your next must-read book. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Stand up, speak truth, fight back the right way. Fighting the Workplace Mob, from author Jesse Rawson on Amazon.
All right, we're back. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm Brian, it's Brian Craig Show. So, yeah, this whole thing with Joe Kent, there's definitely Tucker's connected to this. CIA's connected to this. There's so much palace intrigue going on. And while we'll talk about it and uncover it and expose what we know and have discussions, President Trump has everything under control. I mean, I watch him. Does he look worried to you? I saw him today. He looked great today, President Trump. He does not have a worry in the world. And I got to tell you, you look at how this world is about to change, right? A free Iran, a free Cuba, all because of President Trump. Who would have ever thought? You know, the Make America Great Again phrase that the liberals find so offensive, bunch of jerks. The power of this country is so far and above any other nation on the planet. You know, Iran, President Trump said they were known as the bully of the Middle East. Everybody was afraid of Iran. They were always running around causing problems, the Iranians. And look at how quick we destroyed everything. We destroyed their rockets, their rocket launchers, took out at least 2 of their governments. Today, it was just reported we killed the head of their ruling council, who was effectively running the country. So we've killed the third or fourth, we're not sure, but he's either the third or fourth leader of Iran. In 2 weeks, he's gone. Got him today. And he looked like he was the one that was calling the shots over there. Their navy's gone. Everything's gone. Not only all of that, they took that oil island and they kept all the oil equipment is in place. Didn't destroy any of it, power plants and all that stuff there. This has been probably one of the most perfect military operations in the history of modern warfare, right? I mean, it's amazing what's happened here. Cuba is about to fall. These are all things that President Trump did on a dime. You know, I mean, the whole world has been turned upside down. And the left and the never-Trumpers are trying to get this narrative. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I was covering on yesterday's show, you know, she's saying that Trump's not America first. The, MAGA country are against this war. This is CNN's latest polling.
Okay, MAGA GOP on the U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. Nearly 9 in 10, 89% approve of the U.S. military action in Iran. That is the MAGA GOP base. Just 9% disapprove of it. This is tremendously popular among the Republican base.
So 90% of MAGA support Trump's military actions against Iran. It's probably higher. This 9% of MAGA that disagree, a lot of those are fake MAGA, right?
And of course, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, overseeing the effort. It seems to me that a lot of people are taking that into account, including President Donald Trump, who has been smiling an awful lot at Marco Rubio lately. Look, okay.
Yeah, I know. That Marco Rubio 2028 is looking more realistic all the time. So the military action against Iran is incredibly popular. contrary to what the media want you to believe. And one of the reasons it's popular is not just because people are tired of dealing with Iran and all their killing and terrorism all the time, because everybody's tired of that, but it's because we won the war, and we did it so decisively, right? It's just boom, so quickly. We won the war, the fastest won war in modern history with against a major country. You know, everybody wants to be on the side of a winner. Here's the president in the Oval Office today.
We're not ready to leave yet, but we'll be leaving in the near future. We'll be leaving
Iran
in pretty much the very near future. But right now they've been decimated from every standpoint. And again, we've had great support from countries in the Middle East, great support, but we've had essentially no support from NATO.
Yeah. Now, I got to tell you, I was watching this today with the president, and I'm so disgusted by NATO, by Europe. You know, President Trump, really all he asked NATO for were a couple of minesweepers for the Strait of Hormuz. And some of the countries have some minesweepers and they're nearby, and they said no. Everything we've done for them, you know, when we got involved in the Second World War, the war was lost. All of mainland Europe had been conquered. England, while they may have won the Battle of Britain, they just were putting off what was going to end up being the fall of England. It would have happened. They wouldn't have been able to survive a little island on their own with the rest of Europe occupied. We came in, we saved them. The loss of life by the United States is insanely high. Yeah, they lost too, but it wasn't our fight. It wasn't our continent. Everything we've done for Europe. And then afterwards, with the Marshall Plan, we rebuilt the entire continent. President Trump asked them for a couple of minesweepers to make sure some billion-dollar oil tankers don't get blown up, and they say no? The only reason we stay in NATO is so we can stay in control of these jerks, I guess. But what a disappointment. What a betrayal from Europe. They're never there for us. We're there for them, but they're not there for us. And we've even backed Ukraine during all of this. Biden's war in Ukraine. It's disgusting. And President Trump, you know, he hears his attitude. He knows who our friends are now and who our friends aren't.
Iran is just a military operation to me. Iran is something that was essentially largely over in 2 or 3 days.
Yep.
Because the Navy was wiped out almost immediately. The Air Force came next. The anti-aircraft came next. I mean, we're flying over Iran. We could take out their electric capacity in 1 hour. We have there's nothing they can do right now because everything is knocked out. They have no radar, no anti-aircraft. They have nothing. And we don't, and it was a decision I made. We discussed it, Pete, Marco, JD, all of us, Chris, we discussed it. We can knock out their electricity in a matter of minutes if we wanted to. There's nothing they can do about it. We can knock out their oil in Carg Island. The only thing we didn't take down was their oil, because if we knock out, I call them the pipes, very complex. But if you do that, it'll take them forever to rebuild, meaning whoever, and hopefully it's a sane group of people, but whoever it is that's going to be running that, and we're going to try to get people that are going to run it well, and it's going to be a prosperous, wonderful place. It used to be, if you go back, it used to be the people are great, the people are smart and energetic, and it used to be very successful. Now it's a country run by fear. It's a country where they tell protesters, don't go outside, because if you do, we're going to kill you.
Yeah,
Iran.
That's right. Carg Island, they took out the military there and left all of the oil equipment intact. It not only has it been a successful military operation, it's been done with incredible precision. here's President Trump talking about these traitors in Europe that America's always been there for. We ask them for a couple minesweepers. They say no.
NATO for not supporting you on this. Any repercussions?
Well, no, I just think that it's not good for a partnership when they say what you're doing is a great thing, but we're not going to help. You know, they say what you did is a great thing, but we're not going to help.
Yeah, I mean, how dare they? How dare they? The arrogance. Really. In the end, this is going to be a very good thing because maybe this will get us out of NATO. You know, Europe has brought us nothing but trouble. They're never there for us. All they do is get us involved in conflicts, Ukraine, Bosnia, all this stuff, trying to get World War III going with Russia.
I said you have to attack Karg Island. You have to attack them years ago when they were acting up. They've been acting up for 37, 47, I guess now 48 years. For 48 years, they've been bad players, vicious players, and you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they got a nuclear weapon, I would say they would have used it within 24 hours after having it. And they would have had it if we didn't bomb them out from that great raid with the B-2 bombers 8 months ago or so. You would have had a nuclear war in the Middle East and maybe beyond. I think it would have hit Europe. Maybe not Ireland, but it would have hit Europe. I think you would have been a nice piece of it. It all gets you. It's big enough that you would have been affected. They would have hit Europe eventually.
Yeah, because they're crazy. The Iranians are crazy. I mean, they still won't quit, even though they've lost the war. Okay, so the debate today, moving on to some other topics, and your thoughts, certainly, if you want to leave in the comments or in the chat about everything involving Joe Kent and my theories on Tucker and him, certainly are welcome. You know, this is a developing story, and by tomorrow we'll know a lot more than we know now. So the debate is beginning on the SAVE Act and the Save America Act. I mean, I want you to think about this. All the Save America Act says is to vote, you need government-issued photo ID, and to register to vote, you have to prove that you're legally eligible to vote, which means a citizen that's 18 years of age or older. Here's Jamie Raskin on MS Now.
They've got no program for the country other than...
by the way, with Simone Sanders, who she worked for Kamala and quit early on when she was first vice president.
They've got no program for the country other than disenfranchisement, voter suppression, the SAVE Act, which I think violates the 19th Amendment when you tell American women you bring your driver's license and you bring your birth certificate, and if they don't match, which they won't for 69 million American women, then you need to bring a passport, and half of the people don't have passports, you know? So, just go out and buy an ID. That's a poll tax.
It's not a poll tax. It's not a poll tax. You know, what... in the days of the Democrat poll taxes and everything that they did, it wasn't that they required photo ID, okay? They were requiring things that they weren't requiring of all the other voters to try to stop them from voting. This is not a poll tax. You know, there's all kinds of things. I was talking about a couple today on the morning show. You have to be 21 years of age to buy alcohol. And any place that sells alcohol reserves the right to ID you, no matter how old you are. You could be 98 years old. If you go to a liquor store and you're trying to buy a six-pack of beer or a grocery store or a gas station convenience store, and you're 98 years old and they ask you to produce a government-issued photo ID to buy that six-pack of beer and you don't show it, they don't have to serve it to you or sell it to you. Same goes with tobacco products, right? So, and if you don't have government-issued photo ID, they don't just take your word for it that you're old enough, right? You've got to prove it with ID. Why do we need ID for all these things other than to vote? You know, I'm going on our MAGA cruise on Sunday, and I can't board the ship without this. And what I'm holding in my hand, of course, is my passport. Without my passport, I can't board. Government-issued photo ID. Can't get on the ship. If I don't have my passport and it's not valid, I'll be denied boarding. That's Homeland Security. Why do I need this to board a ship, to go on a cruise for a week? But I don't need one to vote? Come on. It's absurdity. It's absurdity. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, I got some more things to cover, and we'll take some calls.
There are stories the media talks about, and then there are stories they never fully explain. Jeffrey Epstein is one of those stories. You know the name, you know the headlines, but do you really know how it all worked? From cybersecurity expert and author Cody Churchwell comes a serious, fact-driven investigation at how Epstein built his operation, who enabled it, and how the system failed the victims. And he's released the results of that research in his book, TEI, The Epstein Investigation, available on Amazon. TEI doesn't deal in rumors. It deals in documented facts, court filings, financial records, and the real timeline behind one of the biggest scandals of our time. How did it happen? Who looked the other way? And how did power and influence protect one man for so long? Find out when you read TEI, The Epstein Investigation. If you're someone who believes the truth matters more than narratives, this is your next must-read book. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and free with Kindle Unlimited. The real story isn't what you saw in the news. It's in TEI, The Epstein Investigation, from author Cody Churchwell. On Amazon, share the link to the book on all your social media so your friends can read it too. TEI, from author Cody Churchwell, on Amazon.
By the way, there's a link in the description of the video to that book, TEI, The Epstein Investigation. It is a detailed book and timeline. If you think you know everything about the Epstein investigation, you're wrong. Order that book. There's a direct link in the description of the video. It is available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free on Kindle Unlimited. So check it out. Again, TEI, The Epstein Investigation. There's a direct link in the description. All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, we got a very bad connection. We got a very bad connection. Your cell's cutting out. Can't hear you. Your cell's cutting out. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? No, it's going to be one of those days. All right, let's try one more time. You're on the... Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
Put me on hold.
You're on the air. You're not on hold. Oh,
Brian.
my. Yes.
IB, I know it's a double feed I'm hearing. Sorry about that.
All right, IB.
Am I okay now?
You're okay now. What's up?
Oh, my goodness. My head is going to explode. You being in the profession that you're in and having to go through and sift through all this information.
Oh.
It is amazing. It's amazing. But I want to just start off by saying Happy St. Patrick's Day. Look at the tie. Look at Trump's tie, J.D. Vance's tie, the Irish president's tie, green, St. Patrick's Day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I share a name, Brian. My last name has an O with an apostrophe. We kind of share the same name.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. But you know what? We've saved Europe enough.
That's
enough.
right. Exactly.
Enough.
We've saved Europe.
We don't need the world economic.
And we ask. Oh, police! What's going on? What's going on? I hear the police.
I've been transported to D.C. You know, there's always something going on in D.C.
I know. Every time there's a reporter in D.C., there's sirens. Oh, my goodness. What is that siren? Seriously.
Oh, you know, I have bad timing right now. Yeah, I don't know.
It could be the police.
What is that anyway?
It could be the PC police. You never know. The PC police.
I'm near a firehouse anyway, so it's an
no, but it's
Go
true
ahead.
though. It's true. I mean, how many Americans have died for Europe? We asked them for a couple of minesweepers, and they say no. Talk about ungrateful.
I was going to conclude what I was going to say by like what we talked about going back to the zero lot line, like when you stick your neck out of the trespassing on someone else's property. That is the Trump doctrine, the Donroe
doctrine. Yes.
We control it. So these people are like petulant children, meaning these little countries, Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico. They are petulant children.
Oh, I didn't know you're Hispanic. You're Hispanic, right?
No. This is IB. I'm from 2 islands, remember?
Well, the way you said Colombia, you sounded like somebody who speaks Spanish. You didn't say Colombia like an American. You said Colombia like a Spanish speaker. Say Colombia again.
But you and I had a conversation about me speaking a little Spanish.
I know. Say Colombia again.
Okay.
Say Colombia again.
Colombia.
That's not American. All right, IB. Take care. Yeah, that's how you say it. Like if you're Spanish. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey Brian, how's this? It sound a little better?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, this is Nick out of Baltimore.
Hey Nick, what's up?
I just wanted to make. Thank you for the show, by the way. I wanted to make a comment. Jamie Raskin. It must have been the reception in the first call.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Raskin. He makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, doesn't he? Pig.
And he's an ugly mug.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so. They lie. They're just total liars. And let me tell you something. We're going to win the midterms. And I'm hoping this state turns red, but I doubt it.
Maryland.
I wish we could move, but yeah, well.
Well, the Save. Listen, the Save America Act, when it passes, will be in effect in this election coming up in the midterms. It will be in effect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to have such an impact nationwide.
Yes, and it's you know what, and as the president said, it's gonna go through one way or the other, either through a vote. I don't trust John Thune, but we'll see what I look at the president and I look at his team, and I trust them.
Yeah.
By the way, Pam Bondi's been subpoenaed.
By Comer. Yeah, by Comer's committee. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but she's gonna neutralize them, and because we got the Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel hearing on Thursday, that ought to be fireworks.
Yeah,
but
Comer promises a lot and never delivers. I thought he had Biden with those bank accounts with the $10 million deposited in them in Cyprus. What happened with that, Comer? I thought we had him then.
Well, see, this is the thing about Republicans. This is why I call them, the wimpy Republicans, because they talk a good game and then they back off. It's like Jim Jordan.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, if you got to fight like the Democrats, you can't play they don't play by the rules. They don't play by the rules.
That's true.
Anyway,
I'm pretty confident I'm pretty confident the SAVE Act is going to pass. I mean, if it doesn't, I'll be wrong. But President Trump seems to have it under control.
Yeah, I look at President Trump, but he's not worried at all, and I think he's going to straighten this whole country out, including this rotten state.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Nick. Always been a thorn
I appreciate the call.
Side of America.
You take care.
Yeah,
all right, great call.
Appreciate the show.
All right, take care, guys. Take care. All right, so this is a new poll. This is also CNN about the Democrats.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats in Congress, it is the lowest approval rating of Democrats in Congress since they've been keeping track of the numbers. And that tells you everything you need to know. And, if the Save America Act doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But this is, in my mind, maybe the most important legislation ever to go through Congress in my lifetime, the Save America Act, and it will be in effect in the midterm elections. And when Jamie Raskin that I played there, when you see these Democrats talking about it, to me, they all seem like they're having panic attacks on television. Don't they seem that way to you? Like they're having panic attacks? It does seem that way because they know how much of their votes come from people that shouldn't be voting, fictitious people, ghosts, right? Non-citizens. And the Democrats know that free and fair elections, well, they'll be out of power. And you really got to think about it. When you when you look at the maps of America and you look at the blue and the red states, it's like in the last presidential election, Kamala Harris only won states that don't require photo ID to vote. That tells you everything you need to know. And the thing about the Democrats, they have these election nights down to a science, right? You watch them, there can be 3% of the vote in and they can call the vote. So they know in each precinct in the country, they know everything about everything. So requiring state-issued photo ID or government-issued photo ID to vote and requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, they know to the exact number how many of their Democrat voters will not be able to vote because of that. Either they don't exist, they're dead, or they're not citizens. They know the exact number. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Mark from Missouri.
Mark in Missouri. What's on your mind?
Cheese nuts!
That's what I figured. Yes. He had to build up to that? Come on. That's a definite short school bus guy. And, when you think about this now, the Save America Act, it is nuts. I agree that you can vote without showing ID. Think of all the things you got to show ID for. My goodness. Go check into a hotel room without any ID. Good luck. Are you being disenfranchised? Right? The only thing that they don't want an ID for is to vote in elections. The only thing. They don't question the requirement of ID for anything. You can't fly on an airplane without government-issued photo ID. So are people disenfranchised if they don't have government-issued photo ID? Is there something racist about that? It is nuts, no doubt about it. If you're new to the channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. All right, and you'll love this channel. I'm always here live every morning during the week and on the weekends, taking live calls. And these poll numbers from CNN. Thune's going to do the right thing, even if he doesn't want to do the right thing. Okay, because public opinion is on Trump's side on this. It's on our side on this. The Democrats' approval rating being so low, they have their approval rating is so low because even their own people don't support them any longer. Think about that. The Democrats have no constituency anymore. None. So bulldoze over them, do away with all these ridiculous rules in the Senate, and let's just have an honest vote. And I don't care if a couple of Republicans vote the other way. As long as we get 50 senators to vote yes, we've got J.D. Vance for the tiebreaker. I don't care if it passes with a tiebreaker vote. I don't care. Do you? No. It'll still be the law of the land. But the main reason that I'm confident of it passing, the Save America Act, is because President Trump's brilliant idea, he will not sign any legislation until it's passed. He'll not sign any legislation. And he doesn't mean, okay, this fails and then we move on. For the rest of the time he is president of the United States, he is not going to sign any legislation until the Save America Act's passed. They can't hold out against that. They can't. Make sure you subscribe. Also, please like the video. My name is